So I can start just by introducing, I want to welcome all families that are here. I just want to announce to everybody that's on the call this evening that this is a recorded session. So this recording will be posted on our school website in case families were not able to make it this evening. So just so you know that. And also, I just want to direct your attention to the bottom of the screen. You'll see a Q&A, and there's also a raise hand option. So if parents, if you have any questions at the end of the presentation, you could either type it into the chat, the Q&A chat, or you could raise your hand and you could wait to be called on. You'll be unmuted and then you could share your question. So I'll start just with some introductions. My name is Jen Marino. I'm the principal at TLC at Sandown Central. And I'll just go right from the top, at least on my screen. We have Mrs. Miller. She is our full day kindergarten teacher. And then we have on my right, Mandy DeQ. She is our other full day kindergarten teacher. And on the second row, we have Amy Daly. She is our kindergarten special ed coordinator. She'll help kindergarten families. And then in the middle, we have Sandy Peters. She is our half day kindergarten teacher. And then we have Mrs. R. We have Karen, who is our case manager for kindergarten. And then we have Christina Winship. Tina is our office secretary. And then we have Mrs. Burns. She is our other full day kindergarten teacher. All right, welcome everybody.
Okay. I'm hoping that you can see can you see my screen?
Yes, we absolutely can.
Okay, great.
And just for families out there that are not familiar, we are the little owls. So an owl is our school mascot.
All right. And first up is Mrs. Burns, sorry.
That's okay. So I just like to share with you our mission statement. Mission of Timberlane Learning Center at Sandown Central School is to inspire learning in all students by providing challenging opportunities that emphasize high standards, continuous improvement, personal responsibility and accountability, and respect for self and others. And this is kind of what our school day looks like. For full day kindergarten, they arrive at 8:50 in the a.m. and they leave at 3:20 p.m. Those children are able to ride the bus to and from school. Half day a.m. kindergarten starts at 8:50. Those children can ride the bus to school and they're dismissed at 11:20, which they will need transportation home. And half day PMK starts at 12:50 with parents dropping off and 3:20 dismissal, and they can ride the bus home.
A typical school day for kindergarten, whether you're half day or full day, would include reader's workshop, which would look like in the classroom independent reading, some word work where students are learning different aspects of words and learning about letters and letter sounds. Small group guided reading. In math, we also have a workshop model. We try to do a hands-on approach with activities and games and also small group instruction there as well. For writer's workshop, as you can see, we do the workshop model for most of our learning. For writer's workshop, there's independent writing and there's conferencing with a teacher. There's all different kinds of writing that we tackle in the classroom, but that's just a little sample of what we do. For full day kindergarten, there are unified arts, so music, art, enrichment, technology, library, and physical education. We share those unified arts teachers with Sandown North. In half day and full day, kids do bring a snack. And for full day kindergarten, we have lunch while they're here. And we do have a lunch program. Again, it's the lunch comes over from North at this point. And so that's kind of a little snippet of lunch. Recess for full day kindergarten only. Just, yes, there's a time crunch there. But definitely full day kindergarten has recess. Exploration in the classroom is a really big part of what we do every day. Fine motor, social studies, social skills, science, they're all integrated throughout our school day. So that's just kind of a little snippet of our day. Safety at school. Masks are worn at all times except while eating or during a designated mask break when practicing social distancing. So according to those CDC guidelines and whatever guidelines our school board and give to us. We do frequent hand washing and use of hand sanitizer, and we also continue the practice of independent skills. So it's really important in talking about that real quickly are the independent skills with being able to take their mask on and off and using it appropriately. Those are all things that should be practiced, you know, ahead of time, but also we are encouraging and helping and supporting kids at school as well.
And just to chime in, Mrs. Miller, that we don't have a set protocol and procedures yet for the fall, but those would be forthcoming about
Okay.
mask and social distancing. But currently at school, it's a lot of independent seating, and we're not sharing supplies and tools at the current time.
Thank you, Mrs. Marino.
To talk to you short, just a little bit of about getting to school. Mrs. Burns said a little bit about the full day and half day for bus and car. You'll have the option for a bus or car, pick up and drop off. And just to reiterate what Mrs. Burns said, that yes, midday, there is no midday transportation for the half day kindergarten for the bus or pickup. So that will have to be arranged. We will have information on our web pages come closer to the school year, right around August. You'll want to go on the website and check for those bus times. They typically come out sometime in mid to late August. So more information will be forthcoming and specifics once you have your child placed in a classroom, and we'll definitely be going over specifics about pickup, drop-offs, and Paw Patrol, which is a way to inform teachers of any changes if you're changing anything and on a specific day for a certain pickup for a child. So that's just a little bit of that. What should an incoming kindergarten student know? Tips from kindergarten teachers. So this is just a little list that we've come up with as a team. Some things to prepare your child during the summer, even starting right now while they're 4 years old, getting dressed on their own, just those independent skills, maybe practicing how to get those shoes on and off, not necessarily tying them, but starting to practice tying them. That's something that grows in kindergarten. You practice that at home, of course, through kindergarten stages, but that's something you can start exposing your child to on and off shoes. Maybe practice your right hand, left hand, right foot, left foot. Zipping, if you can practice buttons and zippers, jackets, that is hugely helpful for us teachers also going outside. Not that we're not supporting your children, but that is so helpful to practice. Helping with packing their lunch, maybe having them be part of everyday lunches and snacks, like, oh, what do you having them make some of those choices, healthy choices. We are a peanut-free, well, my classrooms are peanut-free. I don't know if we're going to have peanut-free classrooms next year, but that is something that will be forthcoming as well. If that is something that we need to inform you of, we will let you know about any peanut-free snacks. Blowing noses, again, what Mrs. Miller was stating about health and safety. If they can, we're going to be practicing proper hand washing, and doing that at home is so helpful blowing their noses, washing up after blowing noses and such. Opening, closing Tupperware, again, back to those independent skills of when you're at snack or lunch, just having them practice at home. Building those fine motor and small motor skills is really great. Ziploc bags, a lot of times in our classrooms, we even use learning tools in Ziplocs. I mean, so anything you can do to help your children is great. Cleaning up around the house, throwing away the trash, just some of those independent, responsible skills are also very helpful. So that's just a small list of some independent skills you can be working on right away.
So also one of the things that you can do to help support your child in getting ready for kindergarten is really working on developing and building their stamina for using their fine motor skills. That's using their fingers and their hands to manipulate things. The transition to kindergarten brings a lot of more writing, and we find that those little hand muscles start to get tired faster. So things that you can do during the summer in preparation for kindergarten, not necessarily always thinking of just paper and pencil, but using those finger muscles and fine motor movements to build their hand muscles and their stamina for those activities. So some suggestions are clothespins, Play-Doh and slime, scissors, maybe not just using scissors with paper, but using scissors with Play-Doh, little Legos, anything that they can do to really isolate what I call the alligator fingers. So those are your thumb, your first finger, and your second finger. Some other suggestions are ripping and tearing paper. Anything that they could do, again, to isolate those finger movements, coloring, stringing beads, it could be stringing cereal, any of those types of things. And then really having them help you with mixing and cooking and measuring things and doing things in the kitchen, playing in the sand, playing in water, all of those types of things that you can do to really help support your child's development of those muscles, so that when we do start doing a lot more writing, their hands are not getting as tired.
And then families are always concerned about whether or not their child is ready in regards to the academic piece, and it's really just a small part of kindergarten. I think especially after this year where school just is looking different than typical. The things that we are looking for is just really exposure, just providing your child with lots of different experiences. So being able to recognize their name, it would be wonderful. Knowing the letters in their name, if they're able to write their name, that's great. Again, like what Karen was just talking about, we are going to be holding writing tools, so exposing them to different writing tools, markers, crayons, pencils, even just painting, but really then working on that fine motor piece, whatever is engaging for them, to get those fingers muscles stronger. Counting to 10 and things that you're probably already doing anyway when you pick up toys. How many more do we have left? Can we count out loud in the car? How long do you think it will take to get to your room? How many steps down the stairs? Those kind of things. Anything that's really fun, because that's what we're doing in the classroom too. Having some shape recognition and color recognition is great. Again, just when you're out and about, looking in your environment and seeing if you can go on a hunt, or just naming things as you see it. And then letter and number awareness. Really those pre-reading skills are that oral language piece. So again, playing games where they have to manipulate sounds orally, so rhyming or beginning sounds, or can you think of other things that begin with the letter B, or things like that. And then the other huge piece is the social emotional. And I think that's even more true this year. So it is said that social and emotional abilities are said to be the indicators of how well a person adjusts to his or her environment, adapts to change, and ultimately how successful he or she will be in life. The transition to kindergarten can be really big for some kids. So things that you can do this summer safely would be to visit our school playground, just get them familiar. That really helps when they start here with us and not with their families. I know this might look a little bit different, but visiting the library or just reading books together, cooperative games and board games, that's great to do with families or friends, because that's another big piece of kindergarten, learning how to take turns, how to wait, how to be able to wait. And we really work on that conversation piece, being able to be the speaker, but also being able to be the listener. So that's a big part of our year as well. Leanne, you're on mute. I don't know if you're trying to talk. Yeah. So these are some photos that were not from this year, but from last year, what a typical day could look like.
Okay, thank you for that, kindergarten team. I'm also going to turn it over right now for registration information from our school secretary. And then if you have any questions, you can, at the end of her talking, you could raise your hand, or you could put a question in the Q&A and I will get to that right after.
Hi, everyone. The first thing I'll talk about is re-enrollment. If your child is currently enrolled and will be moving on to the next school year here at Sandown Central, re-enrollment will be in July. You will be notified on our webpage, and you'll be able to re-enroll the beginning of July. As far as registration, you want to go on to www.timberlane.net. And you'll see to the right, it'll say new registration. Once you click on that, you just want to make sure that you go in the correct school year to register for next year. Obviously, it'll be 2021-22. It'll ask you to create a username and password. Once you get in, you'll fill out all the information needed. There's a little bit in there, so it'll take a little bit of time. It'll ask you your placement preference. And once you finish and submit, it gets directly emailed to the school, and then we'll process it from there. And also you will see that there is required documentation needed to be given to the main office before your child begins school. You can either drop it off at the main office at the school, or you can email, and I can give you my email right now. It's Christina, CHRISTINA, .winship, WINSHIP as in Paul, @timberlane.net. So if it's easier for you to scan and email, you can email it to me. Part of the documentation needed is your child's physical or immunization records. You just need to make sure that the records that you send are within the current year. And any health concerns that you have, you can call the school, and our number is 603-887-3648 if you have any questions. All documentation is confidential. As far as tuition, if you are a full-day student, tuition is $4,500 for the year, and you will be receiving tuition agreements that will need to be filled out, signed, and sent to the school with required first month deposit by August of this year. So if you have any questions, you can let me know.
Okay, thank you. And one question, one idea I wanted to bring up. I know some families have called and asked about a kindergarten screener. How will my child be screened for kindergarten? And we'll have more information about that. We will contact families that once you're registered, we will contact you for some screening information. We're still in development right now to see if it's something we might just do a questionnaire to families, or we might be doing Zoom appointments with families right now. But probably for the remainder of the year, we will not be doing any live sessions that we know of just yet. But it could easily change in the next few weeks, as we've been changing and pivoting all year. So we have about 10 more minutes. So if you have any questions, feel free, Q&A, raise your hand. And I see
Jen, we do have 2 hands raised.
Okay,
Dean, if you want to unmute.
I just brought in Layla Shell, if you'd like to ask your question.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
yes, we can.
Okay, great, thank you. I just noticed in one of the photos that you showed in the slideshow, children using tablets of some sort. Can you explain how those are used, if it's part of the curriculum, if it's part of a half day and or a full day program, how often they're used and what they're used for, please? Thank you.
Sure. So I can have the teachers talk about how it's used in the classroom. I can share that I know the district has ordered one-to-one devices for kindergarten. So those are still, we're hoping to have those here by the summer.
We also, I think it varies to a little bit from classroom to classroom. So I'll just speak from how I use it in my classroom. This year, I'm actually fully remote as the remote kindergarten teacher for the whole district. But in a typical school year, we actually aren't really using the tablets anymore. They're a little bit outdated. So that picture is probably from 3 years ago, but we wanted to give you guys a look into the classroom of what a typical kindergarten classroom looked like. There are programs at school that we need to use for assessing students. So we use devices for assessment purposes. Also, full day students have technology as part of their curriculum. So they're using devices during that time. I think as far as I'm concerned, I use it for small bits of time, whether it's a center that is no more than 15 minutes and students are either playing an educational game or they're reading a book on one of the subscriptions that we have. We have 2, we have Epic and Raz Kids. And right now we also have something called Symphony Math. So kids are spending some time on devices, again, no more than 10 to 15 minutes, because it's really important for us as early educators to make sure that kids are engaged in what they're doing and not spending the entire day on technology. So it's a fine balance, but these are the tools that we're given to work with our students. So in some cases it's a have to. So that's how I use it in my classroom.
Thank you.
Okay, I also have here Stephen Finnegan.
Hi, thank you all for this presentation. It's really a great presentation, so thank you. I just had a question regarding the ability, obviously during these COVID times, but for families and students to come and sort of acclimate themselves to the school prior to the fall. Is that something that you guys do or offer, or is this something that come fall time they'll get there and they'll sort of acclimate themselves as time goes on? Thank you.
Yeah, great question, Stephen. So we typically do an open house a few days before school starts. And usually that's in a typical year, you can have families walk in. It's a tremendous amount of families will come in, you'll sign in, you'll get to see a typical classroom. By then you should have your students' assignments. You get to meet the teacher, you get to see the library, the gym, and different areas of the school. We did not hold it last year. We did more of a virtual piece. So I don't have a set plan yet for the fall. We're waiting directions on that. If there's a time, if there's a student per se that has a lot of, say, concerns starting school and they're really nervous, I welcome tours over the summer where a family can come in, and I'm more than happy to take a family individually just through the school and show them around.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Jen, there's a question about FLES.
Yep, I'm getting to that. I was just seeing if there are any more hands. Are there any more hands raised?
No more hands.
Okay, so we'll go. If there's any more questions, you can type them into the Q&A. So one of the questions is that we have, are you no longer doing the FLES program? And that is correct. We did not offer FLES this year, and I do not believe it will be offered next year. And for those of you that aren't sure what FLES is, it's foreign language in elementary schools, FLES. I can also just share the school phone number again if you have any questions, 603-887-3648. So if you're like me, then I usually have a question an hour or two after and didn't get a chance to share it. So if you have any other questions, feel free to call the school or email. But we can give it another minute in case there's any questions. I know there's over 20 of us on the line, so. Okay, then if there are no other questions, just a reminder, just you can go in and register online and then we'll receive your paperwork. You can email it or come set an appointment with Miss Tina and you can come into the school to drop off items or we can copy them for you. All right, thank you everyone for coming tonight and participating.
Thank you.
We hope to hear from you soon.